Hello there, folks. Nice to see you. My name is Dustin Cormier. This is How to Rock Astrology. Today we are hanging out with Pluto, my dear, destructive, creative, regenerative friend. And this is, of course, a part of our Pluto in Transit to the Planet series. Today in particular, we're going to be discussing Pluto in transit to natal Jupiter. So this is when Pluto in the sky is transiting by some kind of aspect to Jupiter, usually conjunction would be the strongest, really. So Pluto right now is transiting the sign of Aquarius at the time of this video. So if you've got Jupiter in Aquarius, but if you've got Jupiter square to that point that Pluto is moving through, if you've got Jupiter in a trine to the point that Pluto's moving through, and finally if you've got Jupiter opposite the point that Pluto is moving through, all of these signify varying degrees of tension that Pluto is going to work through. Generally, the conjunctions and oppositions are strongest. The squares can go kind of both ways, and the trines tend to be harmonious and beneficial, but will still work through difficult energy that you have to work through in order to redeem the qualities of Jupiter. And that's what this video is all about. Now, my name is Dustin Cormier. As you can see here, I've recently redone my website. I might as well say while you're here, check out my website and feel free to join my email list. If you do, you'll get a free copy of my new ebook that I've just gone out with. I'm also if you subscribe, you'll be able to see some of the new articles that I'm writing, novels that I'm writing, and as well as astrology works that I'm going to be coming out with in the near future. So feel free to join that little club there and see what's going on with my work. Now, today's video, we're going to be getting our writing and reading from Astrology, a Cosmic Science by Isabel M. Hickey. Now, this is a book that was originally kind of written in the 60s, and it was reproduced in the 90s with a little bit of edits, as well as the inclusion of Isabel Hickey's writings on Pluto that she had done through the 70s and 80s. She was one of the first folks on Pluto through the intuitive work that she did, as well as seeing and doing work with Pluto with the other people who were getting into it at that time. So she has her ways of expressing it, and I find that they're great. Now, Izzy, as she liked to be called, didn't talk too much about Pluto in transit to Jupiter. She didn't consider it one of the big heavies. Really, the biggest heavy transits of planets that Pluto moves through is the Moon, Mars, Mercury, and then Venus to a slightly less extent. Really, Moon, Mars, and Mercury are the three childhood planets. So moving through those planets would be, in some ways, the most difficult. Although the Sun is also considered to be it's so central to who we are that Pluto transits to the Sun are life-changing, sometimes devastating and difficult as well. Now, Jupiter is a planet that has what it's called. I'm a tropical Vedic astrologer. So regardless of what system you use, you're going to find something out of this video. In Vedic reckoning, we say planets are in operation during certain periods, during certain years. The Moon is in operation from 0 to 1. Then from 1 to 3, Mars predominates, the terrible twos. Then from 3 to 12, Mercury predominates as the prepubescent prince, who is all about learning how to use your imagination. Then from 12 to 32, Venus is primarily in operation. We're learning about puberty, what we are as a sexual being and an earthly being who needs our own satisfaction and values and material abundance and psychological health in order to make best with what we are as a gender, what we are as a race, as a person in a nation, in our civilization, in our community, in our country. Then from age 32 to age 50, we move through the Jupiter period. So Pluto transiting Jupiter If you are not 32 yet, what happens during this period? Things are going to happen that are not going to be especially important until you pass age 32. You get to be 33, 34, and you'll realize kind of what this Pluto transiting Jupiter period meant. Now, if you are 32 to between 32 and 50, there's a double emphasis of Pluto's influence on your Jupiter. And even, whatever happens from age 32 to age 50, this Pluto transit rings with the themes associated with this time. After age 32, we are kind of letting go of Venus's egoic need to pleasure myself. And it kind of becomes more like, what am I doing with my life? It's a shit or get off the pot area of life. It's kind of like, what's it for? But there is still an opportunity and a need at this time to explore who we are. Because when we're at age 50, that's when the paint really settles. That's when we come into the sun period. That's when it's like, okay, no more exploring who I am. Now let's put it to its best effect. From age 32 to 50, we've left a lot of the lessons of who we're becoming in terms of what we need to sustain our psychology and be happy and be aligned with our environment. Now, what are we doing with it? Jupiter is guru that throughout this whole period, we're chopping up wood to stack next to the fire because the sun is the fire. So how do you find guidance? How do you find guru? How do you find teachers and people who can guide us and funnel us and our energy into the right direction so that we can get the best and highest expression of our nature, of our sun? So Jupiter is the great benefic. It's extremely important in everybody's chart. But there will be people for whom Jupiter is more important. Isabel Hickey kind of tells us this isn't as heavy a Plutonian transit because we're more sensitive from age 0 to age 32. We haven't had much buffer room. Now at age 32, we've kind of hit a lot of the bumps along the road already, and we're getting used to the pattern of the bumps. We know how to brace ourselves. We have things to brace ourselves through. So Jupiter is still very important for all of us. This can be a period of great reckoning of our destiny, of what we really is our dharma. What is our purpose for waking up? What is the reason that we live? And this period is really important for everybody, but it's especially important for those who have Jupiter as a load-bearing wall in the chart. If Jupiter is your rising lord, so if you're Sagittarius rising or Pisces rising, or even if you're Virgo or Gemini rising, you're going to have Jupiter ruling on one of the other cusps. Two of the other cusps, actually, which is significant. So any mutable rising signs, this transit should be very important. And if Jupiter is the Atmakaraka, that would play a significant part of, in Vedic astrology, the Atmakaraka is like a key planet for you. If you want to know how to find your Atmakaraka, you can look on my website and email me, or you can just check out my YouTube channel. You'll find essentially it's the planet with the highest degrees. Why that's important, you can find on my YouTube channel or by emailing me. But I digress. It's a very important planet in the chart. As well, if you've got the sun or moon in Sagittarius or Pisces, all these things can be relevant to Pluto transiting over your Jupiter. Its work as a dispositor, as a house lord, all of these things are especially relevant to those people. But Jupiter is relevant to us all as the guru that cultivates the fuel needed for our fire to burn the highest. Very deep stuff. Ernst Wilhelm often says when they're looking for possible extraterrestrial life in other galaxies, one of the first things they look for is a sun that spins on its barycenter. It means it's got this little wobble. That wobble tells them that there's a Jupiter in that galaxy, which means it might sustain life, because our galaxy could not sustain life without Jupiter. It's the liver of the galaxy. It stops other asteroids and meteorites from coming along, but it also is part of what gives the sun its spin that causes all the other planets to spin around it. Really, Jupiter is kind of causing that movement. So for Jupiter to play that much of a role in the centrifugal force of the sun that causes everything else to spin, it shows us the importance of Dharma, Father, and Jupiter in the guidance principle that leads us to the highest manifestation of our nature as the sun. And Pluto is here to tell you what exactly that means for you. Now, let's dig into it. This book is great for getting into this stuff. And Izzy gives us a little introduction into what these transits mean and how this Pluto is going to work for every person. And what we hear is that much of Pluto's action is veiled. This reading is by no means intended to offer a full explanation of how Pluto works. You especially have to consider Pluto's influence natally in the individual chart. So you have to look at Pluto in your own individual chart to see how any of Pluto's transits work, how you're dealing with Pluto energy, especially by sign, by house, and any aspects that Pluto can have. More to the point, Pluto's dispositor, how it's doing. Pluto's in the 6th or 8th or 11th house, it can be difficult, etc. So how Pluto's doing as well as how Jupiter is doing natally in the chart. Now, because Pluto in the outer world is an unbalanced energy, that's part of what Pluto is. When it conjuncts any planet in the horoscope, like Jupiter here, that planet is subject to uncontrolled power. And that energy comes under attack during this period. If Jupiter and Pluto's natal position in your chart are well fortified, if they're doing well, if Jupiter's got help from its friends, Sun, Moon, and Mars, if it's being aided somehow by benefics or its house is being aided by benefics, if it's closer to the 1st house rather than the 7th where it likes to be, if, there's many things that can help a Jupiter in this way, then the attack of Pluto in transit, if Jupiter's well placed, and if your natal Pluto is well placed, this attack of Pluto will reveal the weaknesses that need to be faced and regenerated. So it will be ultimately positive, but it will still be difficult. But that difficulty will lead you to realize how you have not been taking full advantage of the support of Guru that you've had in your life. I say this in all these videos, I often say in my cold readings, when I'm talking about Saturn transits, why do we go to the bathroom? Is it because Saturn is above us at the noon position? Time to go to the bathroom now? No. We go to the bathroom because we haven't gone to the bathroom in this many hours. Right? We haven't gone to the bathroom in this much time. A Saturn transit is like that. It's a clock. So when Saturn comes to a point in the chart, it has not been at that point for 27 years. It's been building up, having to go to the bathroom and go to the John and release what it's built up for those 27 years. It's finally time to go to the bathroom in that regard. Pluto is the same way, except that it takes 250 years to finally release what Pluto has been building up. So Pluto has probably had you've probably had many incarnations before Pluto has visited your Jupiter in an aspect like this. Now, there's transits and squares, so it wouldn't have been that long, but we can see it's been 250 years since it's had the aspect that it's having. From the place that Pluto is sitting, from the place Jupiter is sitting in your chart. So it's a long time coming that we can release this, whatever it is that is being faced. And when Pluto comes along, it's time to shit that out. It's time to let go of how the ego has held on in order to adapt and survive in your relationship to Jupiter. And if it's positive, if Jupiter's positively placed, you'll be holding on to programs. You'll be holding on to ways that you've told yourself not to believe in the superconscious, not to believe in your intuition, not to believe that there's some fitted design for who you are, and somebody out there is looking to bring that seedling up to the warm light of the sun and nurture your capacity to do your best. There is guru out there. There's an education system for you out there. There is support for you. There is abundance for you. In order for you to... Jupiter's abundance comes by tapping into the abundance of talent, skill, and joy. And that exists for you somewhere inside of you. If you don't think it exists, Pluto is going to come along and make you feel depressed for knowing that you've got this skill that you're not taking advantage of. But you have it if Jupiter is well placed. But Pluto is going to attack you. It's going to bring something. It's going to make you confront how you've neglected this. Now, if Jupiter and your natal Pluto are not well placed, and they're not fortified, then these effects can be very destructive to Jupiter and to whatever Jupiter represents in your chart. Ultimately, Jupiter is such a benefic. That's why Isabel Hickey says that we can't expect too much difficulty here. But if Jupiter is a load-bearing wall in your chart, you can expect that there will be catatonic changes in your life, for you in particular. For everybody else who's got Jupiter, wherever it is, and Pluto's transiting it, it might not be as big a deal. But for someone who has Sagittarius rising, Pisces rising, also I'd say Gemini and Virgo rising, for who has the sun or moon inside of Sagittarius or Pisces, or has Jupiter as their highest degree planet. Or if you have Rahu or Ketu, the north and south node, in Sagittarius or Pisces. All of those things would have a significant catatonic engagement with Pluto transiting Jupiter. So I've talked about it enough. Let's see what Isabel Hickey says. Remember that whatever goes on with Jupiter through this aspect, through this transit, you have to look at Jupiter's house placement. I'm a Vedic guy, so I'd say the whole sign house placement, but however you got to configure that for yourself. Look at where Jupiter's placed by house to see the place in your life where this transformation has to occur, where this confrontation has to occur, that you will let things go and regenerate and receive the wisdom of the nature that Jupiter is supposed to be. All the planets have a divine nature. And we have, because we can't deal with them all perfectly all the time, we have to learn how to use them. And Jupiter is a part of you that you have in perfect abundance. But life conspires to make us not realize this, to not take advantage of it, to forget it, to not believe it, to not see it, to not trust it. It's a part of our intuitive superconscious. And if we don't trust it, Pluto's going to knock on your door and say, put the gun to your head and say, you better start trusting your superconscious or else something bad, something terrible is going to happen. And you're going to see it. You might have to go through that. In a moment where you didn't trust your superconscious, something happened to cause you great pain and shame. And now you feel like you're a piece of shit because you didn't follow your true destiny. This, even with a good placement of Jupiter, this can happen. But with a bad placement of Jupiter, the lesson is a lot harder to digest and is a lot harder to redeem. So let's look first at the negative expression of Pluto transiting Jupiter here. Again, Izzy tells us that this is not as difficult a Plutonian transit as the transits of other planets. Pluto brings action and a crisis into the life that can make or break one's reputation. There's a desire here to be important financially and socially, to be larger than life, to be well received and respected by people for doing something that is aligned with a joyful purpose that you hold within you. Now, if this is not achieved, then the person can become self-destructive, can become frustrated that they're not getting the accolades, or this can be very egoic. by the way. Jupiter is a karaka for the 11th house, a signifier for the 11th house. And the 11th house is considered to be, in some ways, it has one of the most potential to be an evil house, believe it or not, because we have this desire to succeed through the 11th house. And Jupiter is a primary karaka for it. So when Pluto visits Jupiter, we might feel self-destructive if we have not been gaining the accolades and attainment that we would have dreamed that we would have gotten to by this age. Right? As well, again, if you're younger, if you're going through your, if you're in your 20s, something might happen at this time that pisses away your time, dwindles your talent and skill, you squander your money on something that is absolutely meaningless to you. And when you get to be into your 30s and your 40s, and now enjoyment is not as important as purpose, you look back and you say, I wish I hadn't pissed away my time. Now that money, that energy, that excitement, that moment where I can take advantage of my talent, my looks, my youth is gone, and I can't use it in the same way. And you'll have that realization later on. So if you're going through the Pluto transit Jupiter in your 20s, watch that you don't piss away any God-given talents that you have that you'll regret later. It's also noted that gambling or speculation is not wise at this time, especially if you know don't have a good Jupiter. This can cause great loss. Be frugal with your finances, with your stock portfolio. If you do something like that, don't piss it all away on gambling and crypto. Nurture your future dharma, knowing that you have something special inside you and you are using your money wisely through a well-diversified portfolio, not just gambling it, but being educational, because the stock market is not necessarily a gamble. The stock market's always going up. So if you used indexed funds, I don't know, I'm all about that, but be not conservative, but purposeful with your money. That's probably the best advice I could give with regard to this. Now, there's a necessity to watch your health. Overindulgence can bring physical difficulties, especially with one's liver. Pluto hitting Jupiter, it's like the feeling that, instead of feeling like I'm born for some deep grand purpose, it's easier to kind of drink it all away. A lot of people just love to party when Pluto goes over Jupiter, and it can be fun, especially if Jupiter is it's starved by Mercury or Venus, which are its enemies. This is a Pluto that will piss away its divine self-realization capacities by drinking and smoking and partying to an excess, to the point where it's just like, you're pissing your life away. So especially, your liver energy is one of those things where you only get it once. And once it's gone, you got nothing but scar tissue there. And that abundance, there's an elastic snap that comes from having that youthful energy that you can easily just throw away during this period. Curb your impulsiveness and rash judgment while this transit is operating. There's a strong but hidden desire for material power here. And again, it's that 11th house energy of just desiring to have more. And usually a desire to have more material, signatures showing that I'm wealthy, social hierarchy, status, power, the big car, the fancy car, money, getting into the club, and I know a guy, I know the bouncer, and, being famous. All these kinds of things are usually compensations for inner peace. Not always, but in excess and during this period, I would highly recommend that you consider that might be the case. You should, we're going to learn when we look at the positive expression of Jupiter is that a person lets go of all that. I don't give a shit about the accolades. I don't give a shit about how people regard me. I just want to do what's right for my destiny, which means that you sacrifice and nurture a job, a career, an occupation that might not go anywhere. But you might find once the Pluto period is past, you look back and people are applauding you for some amazing thing that you did. And you did it, you went further than anybody else would have gone because you weren't looking for a reward. You were looking for self-realization and to further the manifestation of the joy of your talents and gifts. And to just dance in the water, dance in the abundant rain and lightning of the joy that is the gift of human consciousness and your individual consciousness. Finding that, seeking that, and just tasting it for its own sake. It's only when you look back that you'll find that the 11th house is lit up with these accolades, either sometime after the Pluto transit or way later on after you've gone through your Pluto, after you've gone through your Jupiter period, whatever it might be. The reward you seek will come to you if you don't seek it. If you seek to give it up as a sacrifice for something larger than yourself. Now, this hidden desire for material power is compensating for the lack of that. And if you lack that deeper purpose and the joy of your being, then you're going to try to have something on the front, some material value, money, some number that you can show off to people. You got into a special VIP club, you're wearing the purple robes, and it's a compensation that once Pluto goes through, that will then become something that you wish you had when Pluto could very well go past and you lose all the abundance. I had it all and now I've got nothing. And if I had not had it all, I would be happy with nothing. Those who have never had it are happy with what they've always had. But if you've been rich and you had everything and then it gets ripped away from you, you're back to where you started, but now you pine for the life that you had. And it's a painful, painful experience. This is Pluto transiting Jupiter at its negative manifestation, right? As well, you might just be, depending on how Jupiter is, the grass always seems greener on the other side of the field. You could be actually a person who has no material abundance. If your Jupiter's really bad, you could be poor, come from not lowly origins, but, come from origins where you are not supported in feeling abundant, feeling like you've got the elastic snap of magic, of having material abundance that comes from the joy of the soul and talent. Your family might have been low-income people, and that might have put an impression on you that your consciousness is that's where you're born from and that's where you'll always stay. And that's not even a big deal. You could have a good Pluto. You could have a good Pluto and a good Jupiter and come from lowly origins and learn to accept it. And by learning to accept it, the resistance to it disappears. And you might actually you might be able to be happy wherever you are. And as a humble person, because that's the gift of a good Jupiter. So a good Jupiter, when Pluto comes through, you'll be humbled to be happy wherever you are. A bad Jupiter, when Pluto comes through, you won't be satisfied whether you have none or all of it. There's a gift for organization during this period, but the tendency to exploit the public is hidden behind the facade of "Hail, fellow well-met." This egregious, gregarious personality that people seem to love and enjoy can be hiding behind this facade, can be a facade where a person who's looking to exploit people is hiding. A really malignant Jupiter can lead to these unethical things. So watch if your mind goes towards such tendencies during this period. Now, just to have a quick peek at what to expect from a chart with such things. Here we have Pluto in the sign of Aquarius. Pluto is in Aquarius at the time of this video, so that's why I've just been doing it sort of this way. Jupiter, this is supposed to be a negative Jupiter. Did I mess something up here? I guess I did. This is definitely not the negative Jupiter that I was hoping for. Did I spin them backwards or what? No, that's a good Jupiter too. Okay. Well, unfortunately, I guess I don't really have the example that I thought I was going to have here. No big deal. This video's gone on long enough, but the point that I would have shown in this little thing here, in this little example, is to remember that Jupiter's house position is going to really help to define the kind of difficulties that you would experience with the lack of material abundance, the lack of faith, the lack of dharma. And if Jupiter's in negative manifestation, the planets that are causing it, the malefic planets that are in aspect to it, the house that it's in, that it's having difficulty through, that is going to be the arena through which your Jupiter is experiencing its reality. So that would be the arena through which you would need to be confronted by Pluto about outdated ways of looking at things and understanding things. You know, if Pluto's in the 8th house, it's a tough place for, If Pluto's in the 2nd house, let's say, and Jupiter is in the 8th house, and it's opposite Pluto, the Pluto opposition transit for that Jupiter in the 8th house, the Jupiter in the 8th, let's say it's having a hard time for whatever reason, it might be going through money difficulties. It might have its finances wrapped up in powerful people, and it has faith that that's the type of person, that's the thing that I want to do, which you might be that type of person. Type of person who gets into finances, who might even be a banker or someone who works as an entrepreneur with dealing with various people's money, investing, get people, investors, to put all their money into this new product, this new invention. And it's like, you think it's good because your buddy swore to you, I'm telling you, man, this is going to blow up. It's going to be a big hit. All you've got to do is give me a huge chunk of your money. I'm going to turn it into something. And then all he gets is magic beans. That's a Jupiter sort of debilitated or having struggle in the 8th house is someone who finds people selling them magic beans. They invest a lot of money into it, and when that happens, they become very distraught, especially with a Plutonian pressure. They become distraught because now this was all of my hopes and dreams were on this, and did I really have any talent or skill? All I was wanting to do really was just gamble on putting money into these people who would get me, to do something with them to get this money. And what kind of dharma is that really? But it'll make you question what it means to have faith in connecting people's money together towards dharmic purposes, towards some deeper meaning and ethic for yourself. Also, psychological depth can happen with Jupiter in the 8th house, but it's ultimately not any planet's favorite place to be. And look at what houses Jupiter rules in that case as well to see further damages that might be caused. If Jupiter rules the 3rd and the 6th house in that case, then the strategy of the 3rd house, the debt management, you might use Jupiter to get through debt and you might just joyfully do lots of little side jobs to finally get through your debt, and then your debt is clear, and then you put a lot of money, go into debt again through that 8th house. Finally, I'm out of debt. Now I can resolve my finances and put my money in on black, and it's finally going to get me where I need to be, and you go back into debt again. This kind of stuff can happen in this case. Now, with Pluto moving into a positive manifestation, let's consider what happens if Pluto is in a positive, if Jupiter is positively placed in somebody's chart and Pluto is transiting it. Now, again, Isabel just gives us a short little section here. The positive expression of Jupiter's energy being transited by Pluto can be an excellent influence for personal honor and integrity. Integrity is a great word. Having a code of honor and doing what you know is right so you can sleep well at night, and knowing that you have value, that people respect you for what you've contributed to society, because you've been garnered and supported in this way through father, through your community, to be an upstanding citizen who people can be proud of. And public honors of this sort can come during this transit. One note is that a famous scientist received the Nobel Prize under a transit of Pluto square to Jupiter. It's an example of how even the squares can go one way or the other. Usually a trine would be most expected of Pluto trine Jupiter, but even squares bring the dynamic tension that can be used constructively with a good Jupiter. The intuitive superconscious faculties are increased. In fact, pressure is put on you to believe in the magnetism. Again, this has a bit of law of attraction quality to it, but Mercury has a certain... Mercury is more of the law of attraction thing. Jupiter is more tuning into devotional bhakti, devotional faith. It's more like a love that Jupiter operates through. This love for yourself and the feeling that the cosmos loves you and that it is bringing good things to your way if you will stop your resistance to it. So there can be a deep, when Pluto, how do I just say this? It's like, serotonin is this chemical factor that we have in our brains where if we have serotonin, we just have faith that things are going to work out. And when we have faith that things are going to work out, things do work out and we get more serotonin. And it builds and builds and builds in this way. It crescendos in this positive way. If we do a bunch of ecstasy and meth one night and our serotonin goes completely down, then we're in this downward spiral of serotonin where we're depressed for 3 days. And when we're depressed for 3 days, we make decisions based on, fuck it, life sucks anyway, I'm never going to get anything good. And when that happens, things happen to bring us down. And we get brought down and our serotonin levels keep lowering in this painful way. The Jupiter thing can be like this. And when Pluto transits Jupiter, especially a positive Jupiter, you're going to find that you have been antagonistic to the reward, the action reward faculty system that is built into our human brains through the serotonin magic. And you're going to find that something's just going to cause you to do something, to have faith that I know that I'm just going to do what's right and it's going to come through. And then something will come through because you had this positive manifestation principle. And that goodness will make you start to feel like when I try to do right and do well, honestly and intently, not necessarily even because I want to get anything back, but just because it's the right thing to do, the universe opens up to that Jupiter guru vibrations. It's the person who's looking to take care of the world takes care of them. And you will be forced through this transit to reckon with that. That's religion. This is what religion is trying to do. And you will be forced to reckon with that through this period. So help from spiritual sources can be sought and received. Guru, right? Jupiter rules the superconscious realms. And Isabel notes that in her understanding that when she was writing this book, Minerva is energy, Pluto is energy from a higher source. It's correlated possibly with Binah, which correlates with Saturn on the tree of life. Wisdom is the key word in the sense of Binah, the tree of life, and this higher source. And it's also correlated with Jupiter. There's an archetypal run-in with Jupiter, with the superconscious, with higher sources, with religion, with mysterious agents beyond our own individual karma in this incarnation. Wisdom and understanding complement each other in this way. So we're already 4 minutes in. Hope this has at least been a cool lesson on Jupiter. So this is an example where we have Cancer rising, which is nice because Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So Cancer tends to enjoy and like Jupiter. Jupiter is in the 2nd house of Leo here. So obviously, let's see, I should put our little Pluto is now in Aquarius, and it's hitting opposite that Jupiter. That moon, which is Jupiter's friend, is also opposite that Jupiter. So the moon is going through a hearty, Pluto transit here in the 8th house as well. But the moon is a friend to Jupiter, and the moon's in trine to the sun, so it's it's waxing. It's closer to full. It's a benefic planet, a bright planet that's helping that Jupiter. The Jupiter also has, let's see, what else has got this Jupiter kicking? It's in Leo, so it's delighted by the sun. It's got a bit of a Mars aspect as well, sort of like a positive square going on there. So this Jupiter is happy being closer to the 1st house cusp. It's in the 2nd house. So this is a Jupiter where the 8th house Pluto, it's kind of the opposite of the example I gave, interestingly, where this Jupiter being happy in the 2nd house might be going through an experience where the Plutonian 8th house is causing you to deal with other people's money, with dealing with the power plays that can come with the 8th house. I gotta learn to press the right button here. The Plutonian 8th house in Aquarius, Saturnian energy, is going to bring out themes related to, again, other people's money, but also the psyche. But the painful psyche of merging with other people, being erotic with other people, and even the power and the resource management, being firm, saying yes and no to things in the way that you need to through that 8th house energy, the psychology of Pluto transiting the 8th house, being opposite that Jupiter, Jupiter is going to be involved with the psychological dynamics of that 8th house. But because Jupiter is in the 2nd house, it's probably had a good family, good sibling and family values with virtue, so that you might even be someone with this kind of aspect who is working out generational trauma while Pluto goes through that 8th house with the help of your positive family virtue that a person with Jupiter well placed in the 2nd house would have. You might even have the monetary and financial luck and resources to pay for therapy, to pay for, this might be a person who for the first time decides to go and try metaphysical things, especially because for Cancer rising, Jupiter also rules the 9th house. With that K2 there, this would probably be a super consciously directed person anyway. Possibly a little bit too much so. But this could be a person who uses astrology, who goes and does yoga and listens to their third eye and their inner intuition, while not also being capable of using their 2nd house groundedness to not get themselves wrapped up financially or energetically in people who might pirate their positive intentions. Assuming this Jupiter's good, Pluto might put them through the ringer of people who are not trustworthy, but they'll eventually learn through the positive support that they've had through that 2nd house how to take best advantage of this imaginative superconscious faculty without being taken advantage of. And it can bring ultimately good 2nd house abundance, but there might be a period where you might not fully have the 2nd house abundance that you think you should or that you could until Pluto moves through. This is just an example of the positive support that can come, even though it would still be difficult. This is a positively aspected Jupiter bringing goodness in this way. This video's already gone too long. Thanks for watching, folks. I'm Dustin Cormier. This is How to Rock Astrology. If you enjoyed this, check out my website. Join my email list. I've got some, you can get a free copy of my new ebook, Thread, as well as some, you can observe when I'm going to be coming out with new novels in the next couple of, years, really. I got lots planned, as well as more astrology videos, and you can also email me there for a reading as well. Thanks so much for watching, folks. I'm Dustin Cormier. This is How to Rock Astrology. See you guys in the next one.